Your Vote Counts with my guys today. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that did not use their vote the other day. We'll get into that in some shows down the road. But the biggest issue was, well, several. The two biggest ones was replacing Senator Inhofe in the governor's race. Let's start with what happened on the Republican side in the Inhofe race.
Well, as much as I would love to just talk about the Republican side, I'll also remind people that there is one, Kendra Horn, that's running for this seat in the general election. But what took place on primary election in that seat, very crowded primary, and what we kind of had predicted on this show would happen is the top two that came out, Congressman Mullen with somewhere north of 40% of the vote, and then former Speaker T.W. Shannon, which got a little bit less of the vote than I think some of us had predicted. About 17% is where he came in. They're going to have 2 months to kind of duke it out on TV. My prediction is you're going to see a lot more advertisements on your local shows talking about Markwayne Mullin and T.W. Shannon. What I hope that we'll hear from both of them is what they'd like to do and not just what they're fighting against. Okay, your point is well taken. Former Congresswoman Horn is on to November, but there has to be a Republican picked first.
Well, she's on to November, but the Republican is going to win this race. Let's make no doubt. This is the race right now. I've been predicting on the show from the beginning that this is going to be a Markwayne Mullin, T.W. Shannon runoff. Markwayne Mullin, absolutely. Congressman Mullin came into a commanding lead over Speaker Shannon in this race. And I agree. You're going to see two people cast a vision for why they should be the next United States Senator for Oklahoma. These are two relatively young men, politically speaking, so this could be a long-term implication, and this is the race. I don't think you'll see anything left in the tank. I do think you'll see a lot more, and I think they'll both be making their case as to why they can best represent Oklahoma in the United States Senate.
And debate is already set on News 9, News on 6. Also another big race, the field is set for the governor's race between Superintendent Hofmeister, Governor Stitt. What do you think?
Well, Superintendent Hofmeister, I think everybody knew she was going to win the Democrat primary, but she came out a little bit weaker than I think people thought that was going to happen. I think there's some pushback in having a former Republican be the Democrat nominee, which is kind of interesting given all of this. But again, I think Governor Stitt is still going to be in a commanding lead. I think that Governor Stitt has teed up this race. This is the one he's looking for, and I think he's going to be successful in November. Superintendent Hofmeister is going to have to defend her records on schools, being the one in charge of that, and that's going to be kind of difficult for her going forward. So while it's not a big surprise, I do think it was a shade surprising. I think people thought she'd do better in the primary than she did.
All right, so that's a good point. Republican switched to go to Democrat, Superintendent Hofmeister. Your thoughts about how she performed and November?
Yeah, I think both of them probably performed a little bit less than they had hoped for. Both of them finished under 70% in their primary. I believe Governor Stitt at about 68% and Joy Hofmeister at about 60%. Look, I think that it's going to come down to everything else in November is who's going to cast a vision, who's going to talk about what they want to do and not just about what they're fighting against. I'm not really sure that voters care all that much that Joy used to be a Republican and became a Democrat. She's talked about that a lot publicly of why she switched. She talked about the opportunity to do things a little bit different. I think voters are going to have to hold everyone that's been elected accountable and decide what they want to do in November.
All right, coming up, there were some other notable races. We'll cover those, and also a new jail in Oklahoma County. Looks like it's going to happen. We'll be right back. So we covered the governor's race, the U.S. Senate race in the first segment, but there were some other notable races of importance the other night.
Yeah, there were some big races that came through. Senator Langford, as we predicted, just cruised to victory over some opponents that said they clearly were doing a lot better than they were ever going to do. You also have a runoff in the state superintendent between April Grace and Ryan Walters. That's one we absolutely need to watch. And then Auditor Byrd, I think, is a big story of the night. We've been talking a lot about dark money on the show and what we can do. There's absolutely a First Amendment right, but we need to be careful of these dark money PACs that won't say who they are. Auditor Byrd just crushed one this night, so a real repudiation of that by the Oklahoma voters, and I'm proud of him.
Yeah, John loves dark money, doesn't he? Let's talk about it. By the way, we haven't heard inflation yet, but the show's still early.
It's coming.
Okay. Your thought about the notable races from the other night?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest notables of the night was just how low voter turnout was. We talk all the time here in the state of Oklahoma about having a vision for our state, what we want to do. It's really hard for us to get to a vision when less than 25% of the electorate go out to cast a vote. I mean, you're talking about such a small portion of the electorate that's taking part in such an important part of their day-to-day lives. So I would say that that's the biggest notable of the night is low voter turnout. We've got to figure out how to get that number up. I think the next biggest notable of the night was the Attorney General's race. Gentner Drummond coming out, defeating the current Attorney General, Jon O'Connor. There will be a race because there's a Libertarian in, but for all intents and purposes, Gentner Drummond is going to be the new Attorney General.
All right, one of the items that was on the ballot the other night in Oklahoma County was this wanting a new jail, which they weren't really fixing the old one. That was kind of confusing. But there is going to be, looks like, a new jail. Your thoughts about what it looks like and what this means?
Yeah, there was a lot of media here in Oklahoma County that was taking place on the Oklahoma County Jail. Look, if you don't know anything about the jail, then you're probably better off. The place is like a third world country right now. I'm glad that the citizens of Oklahoma County decided that this was the best move forward. I'm the first to tell you that I think we need more criminal justice reform. That doesn't mean that we can't build a new jail and have a place that we can humanely put folks. I think this was a step in the right direction. I'm glad that the voters decided to do this, and now it'll be in the planning stages, and if it's anything like the MAPS programs, I feel confident we'll do a good job.
Your thoughts on this new jail?
Well, Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County voters once again shown when they're given a vision, when they're given a plan, they're willing to go forward and move this city, this county forward. And I was really proud of the vote that turned out. It's not something that was unexpected. We want to see good things move forward. Now's the time with the jail to try to get as many outside the jail mental health services that we can. Try to get something that's going to work for the city and county. And again, I think what we're seeing, politicians take notice. When you set forth the vision, when you set forth what you want to accomplish, the voters will go with you. And that is one of the big takeaways here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County. Made a great vote.
Right. Two guys who worked on 780, the retroactivity of 780. There are a lot of people interested in justice reform. We'll stay on top of that for you. Hey, see this again at news9.com/YourVoteCounts and follow me on Twitter @MitchellTalks.